Grab your pencil and open your sketchbook. Today, you are the junior explorer, and we are going on an expedition to a very special part of the map. Let's find the Mountain West region of the United States. Right in the middle of it is Utah. People proudly call this the Beehive State. Think about how a beehive operates. Every single bee works together to build something strong and keep the whole community healthy. The environment here is divided into two very different extremes. In the north, you will find freezing, towering, snowy mountains. But travel south, and the land turns into glowing red rock deserts. Because this rugged landscape is incredibly dry, water is scarce. To survive here, people have to share resources and cooperate as a team, working with the exact same efficiency as bees in a hive. Thousands of years before Utah became a state, indigenous peoples lived across this land. Native nations like the Ute and the Navajo farmed the river valleys, hunted, and deeply understood the changing seasons. These indigenous nations continue to care for their languages, ceremonies, and homelands today. They are active communities that have been here long before statehood. Later on, pioneer settlers traveled across the country in wagons, looking for a home. They built new towns in the dry valleys and dug long ditches to bring mountain water to large-scale farms. Soon, heavy iron rails stretched across the continent. In 1869, two massive steam trains met face-to-face right here in the Utah desert, linking the east and west coasts of the United States by rail for the very first time. But building a life in the desert requires careful attention to natural hazards. For example, a heavy thunderstorm miles away can suddenly send a dangerous roaring flood of water tearing through a completely dry canyon wash. From ancient farmers to modern hikers, everyone who lives in or visits this state has to learn to adapt. You must respect the breathtaking beauty and be prepared for the sudden dangers. Today, the state is home to a rich mix of people. You will find families whose ancestors laid the railroad tracks, living right alongside environmental scientists working to study the desert soil. At the center of public life is Salt Lake City, the capital. This is where state leaders gather to make decisions about everything from local schools to water conservation. Those leaders meet inside the state capitol, a massive stone building featuring tall columns and a grand, heavy dome reaching into the sky. But the Capitol is not the oldest grand architecture here. Hundreds of years ago, ancestral Puebloan cultures built their own communities, carefully stacking heavy stones by hand to build sturdy towers that still stand in the desert today. From those first stone towers to the busy cities of today, people have always found clever ways to build homes in this dry, rugged land. Whether the walls are made of ancient masonry or modern steel, they are all part of Utah's long story of building a community. You can discover a lot about the state by checking its official symbols. Keep an eye out for the California gull, the tall, quaking aspen tree, and sweet local cherries baked in a heavy iron pot called a Dutch oven. Historically, people made a living by relying directly on the earth. Farmers depended on melted mountain snow to water their crops, while miners dug deep underground to extract valuable copper. Now a new kind of building is happening. A booming technology sector has brought thousands of inventors and software engineers to the state to build complex computer networks and design new apps. The official state motto is simply one word: industry. Whether you are digging an irrigation ditch by hand or writing computer code on a laptop, both require that same historic spirit of hard work and cooperation. The Great Salt Lake is like a giant bowl with no drain at the bottom. Water flows in from the mountains, but it has no way to reach the ocean. Instead, the hot sun pulls the liquid up into the sky, leaving behind pinkish waves and thick white salt crusts on the shore. The water is far too salty for fish, but millions of tiny creatures called brine shrimp thrive in this harsh soup, providing a vital food source for massive flocks of migrating birds. Further out in the desert is the Bonneville Salt Flats. Thousands of years ago, this was a massive lake. Today, it is completely dry, leaving a cracked white salt crust that stretches perfectly flat all the way to the distant mountains. Because the sun bakes this salt flat into a hard, totally even surface, drivers travel from all over the world to race specially designed cars here and set global land speed records. These harsh, extreme landscapes look empty at first glance. Yet, they provide irreplaceable habitats for unique wildlife and wide-open arenas for human invention. Now it is time to put your own hands to work. Let's start with a local food tradition. Imagine a bowl in front of you. Squeeze in some ketchup, add an equal scoop of mayonnaise, and mix it together to make the famous local dip called fry sauce. Next, grab some strips of paper. Practice weaving them over and under each other to build a small basket. This connects you to the careful handiwork practiced by Native communities and early pioneers. Finally, stand up and get ready to move. Utah's official winter sports are skiing and snowboarding. Bend your knees, keep your balance, and imagine jumping side to side as you carve curved tracks down a snowy mountain. You do not need to live in the Mountain West to carry its lessons with you. By learning to cooperate like a hive, exploring the outdoors safely, and treating the land with deep respect, anyone can be an honorary explorer of the Beehive State.